Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we haven't looked at a mid-range gaming laptop in a while, so I got in this one the other day from Lenovo to check out. This is the Legion 5 for 2024, the 16-inch version. The part number on this is IRX9, and this is the kind of laptop that often shows up on sale during Black Friday events, but also other sales events throughout the year. And it's not all that expensive given what it has under the hood, and I've always been fond of these Legion laptops. So we're going to take a look and see what this middle-of-the-road gaming laptop can do for you, and we will dive into those details in just a second, but I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, this is on loan from Lenovo, so we're done with this. It goes back to them. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one has paid for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what this gaming laptop is all about. Now, the review loaner we have here has an i9-14900HX processor from Intel. It has an RTX 4060 GPU and 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM in a dual-channel configuration. Now, over at Best Buy, they've got a version of this with a 4070 GPU, the top-of-the-line version of what we're reviewing today, and that one is selling for $1,500 on sale right now. And if you were deciding between the 4060 and the 4070, this one will at least give you an idea as to what the base model of this Legion 5 performs at, so you can decide whether or not that extra boost you might get from the 4070 is worth it. It's not a huge boost, but it is a boost nonetheless. So if you were looking for the absolute best performance, that 4070 one might be the way to go. But as you'll see, the 4060 here performs quite well. These laptops are upgradable, and a little bit earlier I took it apart. The cover comes up pretty easily after you unscrew everything. You can see how robust the cooling system is on this one. And you'll notice that we've got that 1 terabyte SSD and then a slot for another one there. And they also have the RAM in a upgradable state there in the center of the unit, and they've got heat spreaders on everything, so it does have a pretty good thermal profile. You can upgrade the RAM on this to 64 gigabytes if you need to put some more memory on board. So overall, for this portion of the marketplace, it's not a bad configuration here with some good hardware inside that is also upgradable. Now, one of the things I like about these Legion laptops is that they're useful for more than just playing games, and the display on this actually has some creative potential in addition to gaming potential. So this is the base level display. It is 16 inches running at 2560 by 1600. It is a 16 by 10 display, so you've got a little bit more height on this than a standard 16 by 9 display on laptops we saw from a few years ago. The brightness isn't spectacular on this, only 350 nits, but it runs at 165 hertz. It has G-Sync built in, and it covers 100% of sRGB and also has X-Rite color calibration. So if you are doing video editing on here or photo editing, it will do well for that activity, given that the colors are properly calibrated here, which is nice to see on a lower-end laptop. And we'll take a look at some brief video editing work on this in a little bit. Now, given that this is a gaming laptop, it is going to be larger and heavier than your typical notebook computer might be. It weighs about 5.2 pounds or 2.36 kilograms. On top of the computer itself, you need to carry around its 230-watt power supply, which adds about a pound or so to the weight. So this will be something that will weight you down a bit as you're traveling, but you do have a ton of horsepower under the hood. Now, with this being the lower end of the Legion gaming notebook line, a good chunk of the build here is plastic. So this portion is plastic, the underbelly here is plastic, along with the frame around the display. The back of the display, though, is aluminum, so you do have some protection here at the top in case things fall down on it. I do like how well balanced it is when you lift it up here, and it feels pretty premium, even though this is not their premium laptop. Now, one thing I noticed on this is that they have changed the port configuration from prior editions of the Legion laptops. So the older ones had most of their ports in the back. Now you just have the power port and the HDMI port here in the back with the rest of the ports on the side. So this is a USB-A port. This is a 5 gigabit per second port. You have two 10 gigabit per second USB Type-C ports here. These will also do video output, so you can get video out of this one, and out of the HDMI in the back for a total of 3. But note, these are not Thunderbolt ports. And for those of you looking to do live video production with OBS or vMix, many times you want to have a Thunderbolt capture box that brings in multiple sources of video. This will not support that because these are not Thunderbolt ports. So I would recommend going up to the Pro level laptop if you are looking for Thunderbolt support, because this one doesn't have it, nor does it have USB 4. There's a headphone jack over here. On the other side, we've got two more USB-A ports at 5 gigabits per second each, a micro SD card slot. This switch here will turn the webcam on and off, and you have gigabit Ethernet right here with a clever little door that keeps the overall case here relatively thin. And the webcam, as I mentioned, is up here at the top, and that switch will disable it and turn it back on. I did a little shot of it earlier so you can see what it looks like. It shoots 1080p. It's got a decent wide angle to it, so it should work well for web conference calls. And if you need something higher quality, of course, you'll need to connect up a camera to one of the USB ports, but it is certainly passable as webcams go. Now, I love the keyboards on these Legion laptops, and this one is no exception. You've got very nice keys that are well spaced with very deep key travel, so you get a very nice tactile feel as you're typing or gaming on it. They also have a number pad here on the side. The numbers are a little smaller than the other keys, but it's still very usable. You got a nice big 0 key down here, and all of your operators are in the right spot. So if you are doing more than games, you've got a nice number pad here to crunch your Excel spreadsheets and whatnot. Nice trackpad here, as good as the other Legion ones have been over the years. The keyboard is backlit, as you can see here. It does, though, have zones and not individual key assignments. So as you can see, the color is done by rows of keys there, and you've got a couple of different effects that you can do. The Pro level laptop has a little bit more on the key color customization, but you can go through here and configure the backlight to treat different zones differently or the same, and you've got a bunch of different colors that you can assign, along with a number of different profiles that you can play with here inside of the Lenovo app. Now, battery life on these mid-level Legion laptops is not great. You're looking at about 6 to 8 hours doing basic work, provided you're not taxing the GPU at all. But once you load up a game, battery life is pretty much going to be about an hour or two, not much. So you'll want to keep that power supply close by. Another reason to have the power supply close by is that you can run this laptop at its optimal performance. So right now, my power button here is lit up red, which means I am in the high-powered mode. That will slightly overclock the GPU and give you the best performance. If you hit Function Q, you can change modes. So if the fans are getting too noisy for you, if you put it into the blue mode here, it'll ramp the performance down, but that will also make the laptop run quieter. So if you're doing Word documents or something, this might be where you want to leave it. Although the machine's pretty good at managing the fan noise when you're not doing anything all that strenuous. There's a white mode here, which is the automatic mode, and that will balance things out. But if you're gaming, you want to put that red mode on there to get the most out of the laptop. So let's take a look now and see how this performs. We'll start off with a little video editing, and then we'll get into a few games that we ran on it earlier. So right now I've got DaVinci Resolve running here. I'm just going to drop in a quick cross dissolve so you can see how quickly everything renders up here in real time. So we've got that dissolve on the timeline. Boom, it happens effortlessly without any lag or anything like that. That's to be expected. This will work well for higher end tasks as well. So if you're doing a lot of color grading or other things that require use of that GPU, you've got a decent one on here, whether you have the 4060 or the 4070. So this is a very good remote production machine insofar as doing post-production work on the road thanks to the GPU. And one of the fun things when you buy a more mid-range laptop is that they typically perform as well as the higher end ones do. A lot of times you're just giving up things like maybe display features or battery life or overall build quality here. So the performance, as you'll see when we get to the games now, is quite good. Let's have a look. All right, first up we've got Halo Infinite, and producer Jake ran this at 1920 by 1200 with resolution scale competitive settings according to my notes here. And we were getting about 160 to 180 frames per second, certainly more than adequate for competitive play here, and you can see how good the game looks as well. Next up is Red Dead Redemption 2. This one we ran at the native resolution of the display, 2560 by 1600, and we set the settings to their highest quality preset. And here we were getting about 45 to 50-ish frames per second, not quite 60. And this is where if we had a 4070, you could probably push it to 60 at this resolution and settings level. But overall, the game looks and plays great. Not difficult to get it to a 60 FPS output, and we found it to be a good experience overall. Next up is Doom Eternal. This is always a fast-running game, 2560 by 1600 on this one for the resolution. Highest settings, and we were seeing super fast frame rates here, 115 to 160 frames per second. So no issues with this game and many others that play like this one do. So good stuff there. We also ran some older stuff, some old favorites here. This is GTA 5, 2560 by 1600 once again. This is the highest settings, and we were getting about 50 frames per second. So even though this game is an older one, it still pushes hardware here. But again, not hard to get this game running at a solid 60. And last up, we got Fortnite here running at 2560 by 1600. This is at epic settings, and we're getting 65 to 90 frames per second. The game looks and plays great here. And remember, this is the 4060, so you'll get a little bit more out of the 4070 variant here. But all in, I found this to be a very playable experience no matter which game I threw at it. And with the little settings tweaks here and there, you can get it running at the native resolution above 60 frames per second. And on the 3D Mark Time Spy benchmark test, we got a score of 11,550. You'll note that that score is very close to the score we got out of last year's Pro version of this laptop. Once again, if you don't mind giving up a few hardware features, you don't usually sacrifice much performance going with the lower end version of a gaming laptop that you might be looking at. We also ran the 3D Mark stress test to see how well this laptop does under heavy sustained load. And there we got a passing grade of 99.6%. And you can see what the temperatures were on the CPU and GPU at the conclusion of that test. And overall, this appears to have very good thermal management. The fans will be noisy when this thing is spinning up at full blast. It has to do that to keep everything cool, but it is able to do that without a performance hit. All right, one last thing to take a look at here, and that is its Linux performance. Certainly, Linux is becoming more and more relevant for gaming thanks to all the work that Valve has been doing to get Windows games working on this hardware. And so far, it's been a decent Linux experience here. I was able to get the GPU detected. All of the rest of the hardware appears to be working, including the sound and the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth. So if you did want to experiment with Linux gaming, I think you should be able to do so on here. I didn't see any showstoppers here as I was experimenting with everything. Overall, this is a solid gaming laptop from Lenovo. Again, this is not the top of the line one, so you're giving up battery life, build quality, no Thunderbolt. But if you just want the performance, this one will deliver. And you can certainly play some games on it without any issues. The 4070 will give you a little better performance than what we saw in this review, but overall, for people who are maybe just a little bit above casual gaming, I think you will be quite pleased with the performance that you see out of this, and it also works very well for creative endeavors as well. That will do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.